Hello, this is Dread from Epic Builds. In today's video topic, we're going to be going over my top 5 leveling builds that I use to level all my builds. Someone was asking me the other day, they're like, hey, what builds do you use to level your stuff? Since you have like so much stuff, like so many builds leveled, what do you use to level them? I'm like, well, I actually have 5 set builds to level with my characters. Like every single time I start a new fresh character in SSF. So these characters will get you from level 1 to 40 in SSF as quick as possible and as smooth as possible as well, without too much hassle, which then you can respec into almost any of my builds or any of your builds. This is just a generic leveling build. It's just strong while leveling and it will just do you well. So we're going to go over the skills real quick. So for Flurry, we take 3 points into Alicerity, Travel, 1 point into Boundless Blows for the Channeled Flurry, as Channeled Flurry is very strong for single target, 2 points into Deep Strikes, 1 point travel into Precision, 1 point travel into Crescendo, then 1 point into Shockwave, as Shockwave allows Flurry to do AoE damage, which would make it so that your clear is a lot better. Then for the last 2 points, we grab Relentless. Then we grab Shift. It's your stereotypical Shift defensive setup. The main reason we're running Shift is for the movement speed and for the ability. It's very strong while leveling. Then for Puncture, it's very important because we take 2 points travel into Perforate, then 4 points into Bloodthirst. Now, the way this works is we gain Bleeding Flurry stacks, 6 to be fact, hunger. So these stacks, they last 3 seconds, but they're refreshed whenever you hit an enemy, meaning that when you are flurrying down a boss, you hit the boss 6 times with Puncture to get your stacks, and then you flurry down for like 2 seconds, hit Puncture again to refresh the stacks, flurry down again, Puncture, flurry down again. And this will give you the most amount of single target you can get, as the bleed chance is absolutely insane early game. Then 2 points into Press the Attack for the attack speed bonus, which is very strong, very nice as well early game. And for the rest, it's just your stereotypical leveling gear. It's just a chance to bleed. You want to cap your physical res. You want to get movement speed rings so you're faster, and then movement speed boots. For the passives, I'm going to be hopeful that you can just read through those. Alright, for the next build on the list, we have Acolyte. This is actually one of my favorite builds to level with, as Wandering Spirits is very powerful for leveling. We take 2 points into Souls of Rage, 1 point travel, 1 point into Spectral Putrefisms for the poison chance, as this is a lot of damage early on. 4 points into Lingering Souls for extra single target damage. 3 points into Spirit Swarm for extra single target damage, and then 3 points into Thin Veil for single target damage. Then we take Spirit Plague, and the only thing that matters on Spirit Plague that's very important is the 5 points into Pestilence, as it gives us a global damage over time buff that stacks. And this is absolutely insane for early game, as it will increase the poisons that our Wandering Spirits do. It'll also apply poisons itself with Toxic Transmission, and overall is an amazing skill to level with. Then, of course, we have Volatile Zombie. So while you're casting Spirit Plague and you're auto-casting Wandering Spirits, you have a little bit more mana to play around with. So I opted for Volatile Zombie, as it gives me a passive XP while moving through packs and stuff, and it also gives me a lot more single target damage. So we take 2 points into Forceful Commander travel, 1 point into Daunting Blast, 1 point into Dreadful Horde, as it gives us extra zombies per cast, so we don't have to keep manually casting zombies, and it also puts it on a 5-second cooldown, so we only have to cast it every 5 seconds, which is very convenient. Then 2 points into Ravenous to give us 60% more damage against bosses and rares, 3 points into Grave Attunement for more damage, then 2 points into Fervor for even more damage, and this allows us to kill bosses very quickly, along with all of our other stuff. Then for the rest of the setup, we're just running your normal setup. We just mainly want movement speed rings, movement speed on boots, and phys res on the chest, and everything else is just mediocre. It's whatever you can put on your character and you feel like as though that would work. Alright, we have Mage up next, and with Mage we level with Glacier, as always. Now for Glacier, we take 3 points travel into Frost Grip, and then 1 point into Fading Echoes, so that Glacier's explosions happen in an opposite order, meaning the largest explosion happens first. The main reason why this is because the large explosion has the most amount of damage and the largest amount of AoE. And why that's important is because we're running the Gambler's Fallacy, which will allow us to crit if we have not crit recently, which will allow our Glacier big explosion to crit. And this also works with the node on the tree preparation for the next spell increased damage for 200% every time you use a Gambler's Fallacy charge. It's absolutely insane for clear and absolutely insane for single target, and Glacier has been one of the best leveling skills for the longest time now. 2 points into Breaking Point, 4 points into Greater Destruction for more damage, then 3 points into Mordatis Bane for even more damage against a single target. Then for mana, because Glacier is a mana chugger, so we are actually grabbing Mana Strike. So we take 3 points into Arcanist Blade for extra mana, 1 point travel first into Swift Snap, 1 point travel into Sprite Blade, then 4 points into Mana Drain for even more mana gain, and then the rest of the points can be put into Swift Snap so that you have faster attack speed. So you can get as much mana back to you as possible, which will allow you to spam Glacier on single target, which will allow you to kill bosses and move on. And then for Flame Reave, it's your Flame Ward, it's your stereotypical Flame Ward defensive setup. And then for gearing, mainly just the Gambler's Fallacy, Fizz Res, and movement speed, and that will get you through the campaign. Alright, and for Sentinel, we're going to be leveling with Hammer Throw, as it's one of the best single target skills in the early game, and scales very well into the late game. So for skills, we grab Hammer Throw first, we grab 1 point travel into Winged Hammers, 1 point travel into Steadfast Path, 1 point into Iron Spiral. This will make it so your hammers, they will spiral, meaning they can hit the same target twice, which will increase your single target significantly. Then 2 points into Catapult, which will add extra projectiles to every cast of Hammer Throw. Then you're going to grab 6 points into Ballista for the minus mana cost, and then 2 points into Zealot's Conviction for double damage. And by this point, you can respec into a different build, or just build Hammer Throw, which there will be a link in the description if you want to turn this build into an easy Hammer Throw build. Now we have Lunge as well. 3 points into the Fray, 1 point into Double Strike, so that we have extra charge. 2 points travel into Tactician, 1 point into Initiative for increased damage, and 5 points in Avenger's Charge for extra crit. And of course, for the last skill is for Smite, and the main reason we run Smite is for the Righteous Flurry for the increased attack and cast speed. That's the most important part, and that's all that matters. Now, one special thing we are doing is we are running an axe and we are running a sword. The main reason why we're doing this is because we're actually taking the unique path of going Blade Master so that we can get the 60% increased attack speed early on, which will make leveling buttery smooth. We also grab a Gambler's Fallacy, of course, with the Gambler's Fallacy quest. If you don't know how to get that, I would heavily suggest looking up Tunk Labs, and it'll have a description of the quest and how you can finish it. And of course, we have movement speed rings. These are special, as if you can find minus 3 mana cost on the ground, you obviously want to pick it up and put it on, as minus 3 mana cost on your throwing attacks is absolutely insane for Hammer Throw. And then just movement speed and Fizz Res. Alright, and for the more interesting leveling build I have, so Primalist is not known for fast leveling. Primalist isn't difficult leveling. It's just Primalist has the least amount of DPS out of all these options for leveling. But, you know, if you want to level Primalist, this is probably one of your best bets. It's either this or Serpent Strike. So what we're doing is we're utilizing Swipe. So we grab Summon Wolf first in the first area because we don't get Swipe until level 6. So we take 3 points travel into on the hunt, 3 points into Call of the Wind, so that when you use the Howl from Summon Wolf, which will always be on your side thanks to AI, it will give you haste, which means you can move faster through the campaign. Then 2 points to Battle Cry, so that your wolf can howl on boss hit chance, and also gives you an extra increased duration, which means the frenzy that you get from the howl, which it does give frenzy by the way, and which will allow you to attack faster with Swipe, which will increase your single target. 1 point travel to Victory Howl, then 2 points into Snarl, so you get the increased melee damage, which will give you a little bit of increased damage, and the rest of the points don't matter. Now, your second skill, Swipe, you'll unlock this at level 6, is so you take 2 points travel into Aspect of the Panther, 1 point into Feline Hunter for the attack speed, as you want as much attack speed as possible, then 3 points into Wild Calling. So to sum it up short, this is just a 45% chance to double your damage. Don't overcomplicate it. Literally, it will just be your attack, but twice. 2 points into Way of the Hunt for the Leech. If you feel like as though you're squishy, you can grab this early, as this health leech is absolutely insane in the early game. But like I said, you don't do much damage, but you aren't very squishy as well. Then, of course, we put points into area and damage. Now, Warcry is very special for this build. So you don't get Warcry until like level like 30-ish. So this slot will be open to run whatever you feel like running. Maybe another companion, probably. I have no clue, to be honest. All I do is just I just put something else there. Like leap, like you could actually run Fury Leap if you really wanted to. Run Fury Leap with the cooldown recovery speed, with a global increased damage, and the attack speed as well. You could run this until you get like Warcry, but that's like mainly what I would say. Now, once you get Warcry, though, the most important points are taking 1 point travel to Staggering Roar, 1 point into Kinetic Scream, 2 points into Shredding Howl, then 1 point into Shallow Breath, so you have 50% cooldown on it, so you can use it every 5 seconds, then 1 point travel into Juggernaut, then 1 point into Berserk. Berserk is absolutely insane for us because it gives us flat physical with a bunch of stacks on single target, then 2 points into Brutality for extra stacks, and then Fury Strikes for as much attack speed as possible. And that's it for the skills. This build also uses a Gambler's Fallacy. Like I said, same idea. You need to figure out how to get this. Just go to Tunk Labs, it'll show you. And for weapons, you just want as much flat and attack rate as possible because you don't get that much more damage. So you have to make up for it somehow. You just want Fizz Res and then movement speed, and that's pretty much it. Alright, and to leave off the video, these builds are meant to get to level 40 and to be respecialized into the myriad of builds that I have. The main reason why you do this is because last Epoch, the most efficient way to level is not always the most fun way to level. Obviously, you can level with whatever skills you want and have fun with it, but my main points of contention are run Fizz Res, because you want as much Fizz Res as possible, because everything in the campaign does physical damage, and you will hate yourself if you don't have it. And then movement speed, as the faster you walk, the faster you can move through the campaign, and you don't spend 8 years in it. There's a myriad of builds you can move it in. Like almost everything here is still viable to this date. I don't believe there's a single build that is not viable, although actually I think there is. It's yeah, this one and this one. If you ignore these two, all these other builds are all viable for this patch. So you can turn any of those builds into these builds. So that's how I level any build. And if you need, like I said, that's how I level everything. With that being said, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you're at, and bye!